Today we're going to continue prepping our pallet beds for our early spring gardens. Let's get going. So I'm going to go ahead and put a link right up here to this week's vlog. We sort of went over how we prep our garden beds. But just before we begin, real quick, what we added to them, we added some topsoil, mostly clay and sand, just for absorption. We added some amendments. We also added some compost that had some vermiculite in it. We did that, and then we just sort of mixed it in with the compost that was already existing in the beds. So what I want to do now is go through and take a before we dig them video, so we have something to sort of compare them against. So let's take a look. All right, so this is the bed that we did everything with. We smoothed it out and we covered it with leaves. That bed over there, we did exactly the same thing that we did to this one, minus the leaves. So the idea is I want to find out how much water absorptions the leaves prevent. Okay, so we'll dig this one up and we'll compare it to that one over there. This one right here was done a lot like those two beds. The only difference was I went through and instead of just adding a layer of topsoil as a way to prevent the moisture from escaping over the winter time, and this one and this one and this one here, what we did was we went ahead and just mixed everything thoroughly, and you can even see we brought some of the compost and things from the original back up to the surface. So I want to see if this right here, if it drains better or not than those over there. And also we mounded those two in the middle. I want to find out, you know, obviously it'll have more water on the outside of it. But what I'm thinking is I might go ahead and mound them and then go the other way, right? So you'll just, you know, do the concave version of this next time it rains and see if that'll sort of get all the way down to the middle all around. And then up here is the tomato beds, and that will be our control group. So let's get out our little hand tool and see what we can discover. Oh, before I forget, don't forget to like and subscribe, maybe even tell a friend. All right, I dug these holes. Let's go take a look. As you can see, the one with the leaves in it, this one, you know, I dug a pretty deep hole. I got about 18 inches in there, and this one retained water really well. There were some pieces of of the compost from the previous year that they, instead of being like wet, it was sort of moist, I guess, for lack of a better term. So, but this worked out really well. The leaves did not prevent a whole lot of the water from getting through. So probably going forward, this right here might just be the way to go, and I'll show you why. Now this one over here that we covered with just the topsoil, right? We didn't add the leaves to this. I dug almost exactly, well, maybe not exact, but you know, eyeballed it to as close, and they were almost exactly the same as far as the moisture levels on the inside of it. Let me see if I can get in here. You can see it'll go into sort of a clump, but not too much of it, and what we ended up getting was about 2 inches of rain. So this is about perfect, you know. So the reason 2 inches is a great measure is that's what I usually will water my gardens in the spring and in the fall. Anytime the average temperature is below 90 degrees, I try to shoot for about 2 inches. So this is kind of exciting for us because I believe this mix, if we have another dry year, it's going to work out really well for the garden. And just to show, we mounded this one, you'll remember, and I dug through the whole top of it and I got about 12 inches down. That's about where it was at as far as the moisture level, which surprised me. I would have thought it would have been a little different, maybe even more maybe even drier a little bit from the top, but it wasn't. So it soaked in pretty good. And this is the one that was flat, and it also went down about 18 to 20 inches. Surprisingly, this was the one that had the deepest of all of them as far as having the moisture as deep as we want it. So that is, like I said, it's pretty surprising to me. But I think overall, this bed over here with the leaves covering it or whatever, I'm really satisfied with this one. But just for the sake, let's go ahead and go through. Since we had two beds the same, I just wanted to show you, I dug this mound kind of equal depth to the surrounding side of it, just in the middle of it. And it was really wet up till there, you know, but surprisingly, the moisture only went down another like 4 or 5 inches underneath that. So we've got another rain coming up this Saturday. So just to kind of let you all know what I'll be doing, I'm going to go through and I'm going to try to homogenize all of this as much as I can. We'll put those oak leaves to use. We'll smooth everything out. We'll put those on there and we will let this stuff rest until early February, probably, when we start to go through and do our digging. Now this is, I guess, something that kind of blew me away. I guess because this compost has been used for 2 years now. Believe it or not, about 6 inches into this compost, it starts to dry out. So I guess what happens is the water just freely flows through this. And that may have been one of the reasons why we had to water so often through this summertime, was because, you know, the compost, we did not go through and add the topsoil. I was under the impression I'd get 2 years out of it. I guess technically I did. We did grow it for 2 years and we got a lot of vegetables out of the pallet garden this year, but it went through a lot of water. So my hope is adding this topsoil, the amendments and such each year, will allow our soil to retain more of the moisture, so that when we put the 2 inches in there, less of it drains through into the bottom and it stays available for the roots. I'm just going to add this to this video because I wasn't really sure where else to put it, but now's a great time to go check out your local ranch stores or your local gardening stores. There are sales all over the place. You can see this potting mix here. I got this potting mix for $1 a bag. It was normally $16.99. There was like half a pallet. I bought every bit of them. In fact, when I went to check out, everything on the rack was $1, so I just bought a whole bunch of stuff. Whenever I went to check out, they rang it all up at the original price and it came out to $357, and I ended up paying $21 and change for all of that. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a PSA. You may want to go check those stores out, see what you can get. Our goal is to take these and mix them into all of Leslie's beds. And then once we've got all of that done, I will probably take these and put them into her the in-ground beds. I'll till them under for her flowers for next year. I think having that in there, because there's a lot of like peat moss and that sort of thing that'll help hold moisture, and that'll really help with our poor ground soil. As always, I appreciate you all for staying here to the end. Till next time, hope you all take care of yourselves. Peace.